Commence the next topic.
Excellent. So, Zhao Biden, the Chinese agent running America. Second, you have my sympathy.
Hats up to you, dude.
Okay, wait. This is the first I'm saying this because, again, I got to it during the third section, but holy fuck, he actually... What? He quoted Mao Zedong?
He did.
Yep.
Women hold up.
Let's see if we can get... Let's see if we can get some information. Sadly, there's...
Or Texan.
Yep. So he actually ripped it off from someone else's speech as well. There's a saying used in a different context, a Chinese saying that says women hold up half the world. It's an absolute stupid position not to make sure they represent at least half of what we do. Yes, because to the communist, if you're not producing more communists and you're not working, you should be dead.
I hate to come across as, like, overly Puritan, let's say, or, like, kind of purity spiraling, where it's like, no, how dare you say that? You can't say that, blah, blah, blah. But it's just kind of this thing where it's like, it shouldn't be hard, though, to, like, not constantly quote and, like, simp for and make weird references to, like, an evil totalitarian government. Like, I'm not saying, oh, well, Hitler drank water, so therefore you shouldn't drink water, but it's kind of like, you know, you really don't need to, like, cite to Mao Zedong and Xi Jinping to make your points. Like, you know, Joe quoted Mao Zedong here, and then back in, I can't remember if it was shortly after he got elected or inaugurated, but he gave some speech where he just randomly drops the fact, yeah, well, you know, I was hanging out with Xi Jinping, you know, the leader of China, and he asked me what America means to me. And it's just kind of one of those things where it's like, weird flex, but okay. Like, you know, obviously, you know, the President of the United States has to meet with the supreme leader of China or whatever, because that's how diplomacy works, you know. You meet with shitty people if you're the head of a country. But it's
what America means to me is the way to make a lot of money and sell out my family for gain.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's like,
that's
yes, you were going to meet with, like, China, right? And you know, you're going to, and not everything said by, like, terrible people is intrinsically terrible itself. You know, you don't go down the whole, oh, well, Hitler, like, was a vegetarian and liked animals, so therefore. But, you know, if you're arguing in favor of, like, vegetarianism or liking animals, you're not going to fucking quote Hitler, because that's just, like, weird. Like, what are you trying to communicate there, Joe?
Yeah, you are.
Hitler was a vegetarian. Eat more beef.
Yes. Well, I mean, it's just kind of this thing where it's like, it's not like, oh, no, you can't, like, say women are half responsible for holding up the world because, like, that's a concept the Chinese people believed in. But, like, surely you could find some quote about it that isn't from, like, fucking Mao Zedong. It's not... It's not...
I mean, you could probably find, like, half a dozen feminists that give you a quote, and as much as we don't like them, at least they're not Chinese dictators. Yet.
Yeah, at least they're not, like, the person with the biggest fucking body count in all of human history.
You know, you want to hear something just on the concept of Mao and simping for a homicidal dictator. You know how students are completely lacking in all sort of brain power? Right? No concept of history. I've been driving.
This is literally what I said in my comment. This is literally what I said in my comment. It's those white people have no idea of history, no concept of anything.
Oh,
They're arrogant as hell.
It gets better because you have these edgelord teenagers who just run around and start tagging. And then you see the hammer and sickle, you see the Chinese flag tagged on walls, and where they write "Long live Maoism," and it's like, how back-ass words are these people? How retarded can our following generations be?
So, like, a few years ago, in one of the first weeks of like a semester at my university, every like student org had their like little booths and tables like set out along kind of the main walkway, kind of advertising their groups. And there was this one like, I don't know, socialist or communist group or whatever, and they had like a poster on the front of the table with like a hammer and sickle on it saying it is our right to rebel. And I see the guy at the table, and he's wearing the shirt that says Nazi Hunter. And so I'm like, okay, this seems sketch. And I go up to him, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I just have to ask, how, like, serious are you with your rhetoric? And he's just has this creepy smile and these, like, I don't know, demon-possessed, like, culty mental illness, like, eyes. Like AOC's eyes, or the eyes of that woman in the last COVID cringe video. And he's like, very serious. And I'm like, okay, so when you say it is our right to rebel, you mean... And he goes, violent revolt. And I'm like, okay, I'm getting the fuck away from this guy. It's just weird.
Right.
Yeah, typical middle-class college idiot who's never had to work for anything in their life. Because you'll notice that no one who's ever worked a real job is a communist. At least I never found
really true. That is really true.
The only people who want communism are the ones who think they'll be the bureaucrats who tell other people, okay, you go to the coal mine, you go to the iron mine, you sweep up dead animals on the side of the highway. No, that's not how this is going to work.
So
they're going to be the stones that the people after them walk on.
Well, that's it. If they were remotely successful, actual competent people will come along, kill them all, take over, install a dictatorship that calls itself communist but doesn't actually want to give the people anything, like, say, China, and the leftists who thought they'd be the bureaucrats will either be in the gulags or up against the brick wall.
Both.
Or both. Yeah.
Isn't it wonderful? Isn't it neat? Competent leaders getting us back on our feet.
Oh, man. I don't even know.
I'd like to see some good competent leaders somewhere. That'd be nice.
I mean, I'm not seeing one right now, and I'm looking at apparently the leader of the mightiest country on the world.
That's not Kamala Harris.
It's sad. It's sad.
That's Joe Biden, not Kamala Harris. He's not the leader of the United States.
I'm sorry, I'm just seeing the same crazy laughing face, and it kind of blends together.
Yeah. But yeah...
No, you can tell it's him because of his beady fucking soulless black dead eyes. His dead fucking fish.
Wait, he has eyes? I just see two voids.
Yeah, exactly.
So did you see the video second where he attempts to quote Dick Cheney, fucks it up, nobody laughs, and then he calls them dull? Because that's what the president should say about his troops.
Well, that's the thing. It's kind of like, the left is like really obsessed with this whole, the right likes to punch down, the right likes to punch down, the right always punches down, And we...
Who's the left? Hollywood punches down on everyone else.
Well, yeah, that's exactly the point, though. With Donald Trump, whenever he was in office, now, technically he was the president, so whoever he attacks...
punches everyone.
Well, yeah, he was the president, so technically whoever he attacks is technically punching down, but specifically he attacked the elites in society. That's where he kept his scorn, ire, and wrath. Like, when he attacked someone... he was attacking the left-wing establishment of elites, right? He was like, look at low IQ Maxine Waters. What a terrible, nasty woman. CNN is fake news. All these fake news shows, okay? But he would always attack the elites. You would never see him go... You would never see him, like, rip into the Democrat voting base in general. He wouldn't go... all these people who are voting for Joe Biden, they're stupid, they're terrible, they are human garbage. Like, he never did that, whereas, like, he never attacked the common man. No, I don't think so. Because, like, I don't think he should have. Because I think that is a high road in comparison with what the left is doing.
Well,
where
remember
you get,
how
like,
badly
fucking
things went.
Don Lemon on CNN.
It's nonetheless true, though.
Yes, it is true. But remember how well things went for Hillary, Two Stacks Clinton, when she decided.
All I remember was because you'd be in jail bit. I don't remember anything else about the debate other than that.
No, I'm not even talking.
Oh, no,
about that. I'm
he's talking about
how
when...
she's calling people deplorables.
Yeah.
But she's a woman. Who cares?
Oh, these... Fuck. No, but when she said, like, oh, these people are deplorables, or when Don Lemon is like, well, if you voted for Trump, then you are aligned with the KKK, and there is no excuse for that. When Anna was like, if you're voting for Trump, you're just human garbage. Like, and then you have Biden here, and he's like, oh, graduates are dull, or, oh, the enemy is within, all these, like, white supremacists who voted for Trump, all these, white supremacists who don't like the fact that I'm president, white supremacists are everywhere. And it's like, the left constantly punches down at the common man, whereas it's like, the right does have its criticisms of people, like, of the common man believing, like, leftist shit, but generally, the rightists in power are not like, oh yeah, everyone who votes Democrat is a piece of shit. That is not the messaging they're constantly running. So, like, Trump really didn't punch down in the same way that Joe Biden does.
I will say for the Hillary comment and saying that she's a woman and no one cares. She is a woman and no one cares, because that was the main thing that she was selling herself on all the bloody time. There wasn't any other competence for her other than, I have a vagina, vote for me. Literally, nothing else.
Basically.
Yeah, so
when she also made the argument that she had experience. Now, it might have been experience doing a lot of terrible shit, but...
Yeah, she had experience getting a raper off in court. Rapist, sorry.
Well, that's why she was so popular in Hollywood, wasn't it? Because she was married to a rapist. And Hollywood does enjoy a good bit of rape.
Also, she has this thing where people suddenly decide to commit suicide with paper.
Two shots to the back of the head. I mean, what?
Yeah. It's impressive. It's impressive how limber you can be. It's like, oh, I met Hillary Clinton. She has inspired me truly.
Yes, and thanks to Hillary Clinton, I've now become a contortionist. While killing myself with 3 bullets in the back of the head, and then I'm never heard from again. I'm just another name on her list of 50 mysterious dead people who are conveniently dead, who have been associated with her in some or other inconspicuously incorrect manner. But I'm sure there's nothing to see there.
I'm even gonna pack myself in a barrel and roll myself down the river.
Yeah. No, I think the reason why she was deeply unpopular is because she represented, what was it Sargon said in one video, she represents the nexus point of everything that is wrong with US politics. Which is true, which is why she lost, because she's corporate shill. And everybody knows it. Like, for heaven's sake, her and her husband are worth multiple millions of dollars. Like, they raised like near $1 billion. From who? It wasn't regular people. She's a corporate whore for every entity in America. So there's a reason why she was rejected, because she's shite. I think it's because she laughs all the time when she's evidently being hit with something that is true, and it makes her look psychotic.
Yeah, Kamala Harris is obviously trained
by the same person.
Clinton. Yeah, she's Hillary Clinton 2.0. She's the updated, more terrible version.
It's really weird how they behave in exactly the same way. So I've said this before, that whoever trained Hillary Clinton in public relations has trained her, because they do the exact same thing. And it is really, really eerie.
Very.
Like, they look like there's no personality between the two of them. They're just empty suits to be filled with, well, whatever they've been told to say, which kind of makes them synthy.
I mean, it's like the confluence of everything. You have like the empty, like, corporate manufactured kind of plastic suits.
Vacuous,
The vacuousness, the unsettling, like, creepy laughs, the identity politics. With Kamala Harris, she has, like, What is it? She either has like the most left-wing voting record or the second most left-wing voting record in
one of the most, I think.
Congress. Yeah, and it's
Which
just
is
kind of like,
obviously
oh,
she is a psychopath. She has a desperate lust for power.
Yes, it's
Like, you
surprising.
can see it.
It's surprising she votes so left-wing since she gets such a hard-on for imprisoning young black men.
Well, yeah, that's the thing.
That
too,
is very progressive.
Is that uniquely among everyone else in the Democratic primary? I think she was the only one where I couldn't find a single redeeming feature. Like they were all terrible, but with the others, I could at least find or grasp at one straw to say here's a redeeming feature. Now, there are a couple of things I generally agree with the Democrats on, right? Like I generally think the Democrats have the better position on actually ending the war on drugs. Now they kind of suck at doing that, and legalizing weed, for example. And another thing is that they advocate for a more humane, prison system, and they do a very shitty job of advocating for that. They say it, they don't get anything done, and it's like never a part. It's never a focus. It's never a focus of what they mostly talk about at their debates. But regardless, so that's kind of the area of the Democrat platform that I'm generally like, okay, well, I actually kind of agree with that. The problem with Kamala is that she is the fucking worst person on all of those topics. So even the areas in which I'm kind of begrudgingly like, okay, you guys have kind of a point here, Kamala Harris still sucks on those. I wouldn't trust her to with drug policy or actually getting good criminal justice reform. I mean, she'd reform criminal justice in a way that just allows people to get the fuck out of prison and not get punished for their crimes. But
I think when it comes to the drug one, I think there's an ulterior motive to that. I think the reason for that is I think it's because the money that they can get from selling weed is quite high and will probably be bought by the Democratic politicians. And I also suspect that the people who engage in drugs more often will also be on welfare and therefore will vote the Democrats more.
Or journalists.
That is a pretty good point.
Yeah,
that's the reason for
supporting the drugs.
Sure,
yeah, I don't believe for a second it's for the good of society. It's because to get more votes. Everything is about getting more votes. Sure. They don't give a shit about society. None of these people give a damn.
Well, no, I'm not necessarily speaking to their intentions there, but I do think legalizing weed and ending the war on drugs is a good thing. That is kind of my stance. Whatever their reasons are for taking that stance, whatever. But it is like a stance that I agree with, no matter how cynically motivated it might be on their part. The point I'm making, though, is that even though that's the stance I agree with, it is not one I would trust Kamala Harris with. So, just on every level, she fails for me as to have any redeeming features to my sensibilities whatsoever. Is kind of the point I was making.
That's saying something.
I can't think of one redeeming feature for Kamala Harris.
One?
Go on.
She makes a really good punching bag for Tulsi Gabbard.
Well, that is true. That's true.
Oh, Tulsi. Good.
Base Tulsi.
Base waifu Tulsi.
I only have one issue with Tulsi, and I think that one is actually revoked now because I think she went back on it. But she took a photo and supported Antifa in 2015, in 2018 or 19, I think.
Oh, that's sad. Why?
Yeah. But I think she's actually gone back on it now after all the peaceful, fiery, but mostly peaceful protests.
Tulsi, if you ever hear this, dear God, babe, become a Republican. Get the hell out of the Democratic Party. You are not with that clique. Seriously,
yes, Tulsi, become a Republican, and you'll be the first actually elected female black president of the United States.
She's not black, she's Polynesian.
She's close enough. I don't know. I don't pay attention.
And for one,
the state of her hair and her skin color, that's a Polynesian woman. That woman's not black at all.
She's not British. She's not British. Oh. She's not a Yucca.
No. Okay, my bad. She's BAME.
BAME. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's the American way.
But
He's too pretty to be a politician.
I mean, I don't agree with Tulsi on everything. Obviously,
No, her gun ideas are.
I think I'm a bit. Well, yeah, that, and I'm probably a bit. I'm definitely more economically right wing than her, and I would guess more economically right wing than even like the general population of this podcast. But
Really?
but I don't know about you. I don't know about you, Spoon, but like Bezic and Trim are significantly more pro welfare and pro, I don't know, having the government involved in shit like healthcare than they are, for example.
I am uber libertarian on economics. It's very, very. I would be go free for all roulette, strip everything, and there is nothing that the government should do when it comes to business. Virtually nothing. And the reason I say this is because I was reading that Myth of the Robber Barons book, and to see how much wasteful spending the government engages in, and this was in the 1900s. So to see it now, oh my god, oh no, I would be no, if you even touch business, someone should kick the crap out of you. No, just
okay.
Oh my god, the amount of wasteful spending is insane. So no,
that is fair enough, Spoon. So you probably you probably outflank me a bit on the right wing economic side, but I am closer to you, I think, than I am to the majority of the other Sultans on economics. But point being, so I kind of obviously would disagree with Tulsi on that front and on stuff like guns, but none of my disagreements with her are things which fill me with a moral disgust. Let's say I'm just kind of
but
it's a principal disagreement, but I'm I think she does have good character, I guess.
Yeah, but the thing is with the Republicans and the Democrats, it's very difficult to sell that idea of the economically responsible will reap more benefits by working harder, because that doesn't sell well as a political ploy. Whereas it sells much better if you're the opposite, which is why the Democrats are more effective at branding, at least for this regard, because they can just say, "Oh, look, we're able to do X and X and X." Now, if you're politically naive, you'll buy that dumb crap, which evidently many people do, which is why the black population votes is 90% Democrat, which is insane. So it's a branding problem that the Republicans have, which Trump managed to do very effectively. He did manage to kick in that wall pretty well. But essentially, I was saying the Democrats are shite and we can do better. And I imagine that the Democratic people that were suffering under the immigration laws in the South voted heavily for Trump because they could realize that, hey, look, we're losing our position to illegals, and if they get rid of, then we can get our first step on the ladder, which is a good thing. So.
I also find it funny that that it's funny how the immigration thing, to touch back on that for a second, that in the U.S. there's this Democrat ethos of, oh, if you're against illegal immigration, then you're a racist against Mexicans. And then you look at legal Mexican immigrants, and 75% of the Mexicans that immigrated here legally are yeah, no, illegal immigration is dog shit. We had to do this the legal way. What the fuck are these guys doing? Send them back.
Well, yeah, because they can obviously see that they had to work their ass to get in the country. So when someone else gets it for free, they just see the resentment. You can't really fault them for that. Why the hell should somebody else bust their ass, get in fairly, and someone else gets it for free by breaking the law? Duh.
Yeah. And it's also kind of the thing that, it's also kind of the thing with the whole BLM thing, with defund the police, where you look at the polling among black people, and 70% of them think there should be just as much or more policing. Only 30% of the black people polled said that there should be less policing in their area. And so it's kind of this thing where it's racial minorities vote for Democrats a lot. I think to some degree there is some kind of cultural hoodwinking that goes on there, but they're not woke. They're not woke in the same way that a lot of these white leftists are, which is why I think to some degree why I think Trump made gains with them I
wonder what the reason for that actually is. I imagine the people on the ground do it because they're useful idiots. I don't know what the politicians see by seeing their cities go up in flame and people being shot. I don't know if it's a long game of making people leave the area and then selling it to people who will then upscale it in some way, and they'll make a massive profit from it. Chinese, for example.
Oh
maybe.
shit! Like a crypto gentrification.
Guys,
Yeah, kind of.
Liquid Swan will come soon when he's finished his morning routine.
Excellent.
Other than that, I'm not sure what the MO for those people would be. Because it's just hell. Like you're just inducing, you're making everyone leave. Like everyone with competence and money, evidently in the case of New York, they just fuck off. So.
And hey, they're welcome to come to Texas. They just need to not vote for the same dipshits that like made California and New York what it was. When in Rome, do as the Romans do.
If I had my way, I'd make a law. If you come from a blue state entering a red state, you can't vote for blue again.
Agreed.
I know people are going to say
Sounds
that's
good.
oppressive, but I don't give a crap. Like the reason you come to Texas from places like California is because California is governed like dog shit. So if you bring the same policies from the shitty state you just left to a new state you just entered because it is better, and you still vote for the same policies that made you leave in the first place, you're a fucking asshole.
Something I do appreciate, though, is that at the very least on a state level, even if the state goes majority Democrat, there is some barrier to them, I guess, like doing certain shit, at least on the level of the state government, because we have no state income tax. And furthermore, we actually kind of beefed that up in the 2018 midterms. There was a referendum, and we voted to, like, raise the threshold for imposing a state income tax. So now to impose a state income tax, like, something like 75% of the state legislature needs to, like, agree with that. It has to be a majority of 75%. So we really, like, raised the bar on, like, you really need to, like, push really hard and get almost everyone to agree to actually get a state income tax in here.
Based.
Besides,
Based
the whole
in cowboy
healthcare-
pill.
the only way the Norwegian healthcare thing works is because we're such a small country with a lot of resources. I mean, if you're gonna have it in America, you have to restructure your entire economic system, and it's gonna be a nightmare.
Indeed,
Yeah, I've
and
said
I
before it's not
think
gonna work.
one thing we may not have been clear, or I at least may not have been clear enough about, is that as far as economics and free market capitalism goes, I'm actually very, very liberal in that. Not even though I still back social welfare programs and free healthcare, because in Australia our healthcare system is probably the best compromise you can get, where for urgent critical care you can get that for essentially free. For non-urgent stuff you can go on a massively long waiting list, or if you have the resources to do so, you can buy health insurance, you can go to choose your own hospital, do whatever you want, and that's probably about the best compromise that I think you can find.
Yeah, the healthcare in Norway can actually be more resembling a insurance plan than anything else, actually.
And I mean, that's fair enough, and I'm not accusing you two of being, like, lefties or whatever.
No, I just wanted to.
I
I just thought it was
obviously-
Support that claim.
Yeah.
Oh.
I just thought
God.
it was an interesting topic to talk about, because you can support social welfare programs without being an idiot and making it like 110% of the minimum wage or something stupid. But you can also do something other than giving people nothing or giving them something absolutely pathetic that's unlivable. So there is a middle ground, and I don't think there's very many places that find it successfully. I mean, America's certainly screwed up with what Joe Biden's doing with something. What is it, second? Like 95% plus of the minimum wage that people are getting?
Right. Well, one of the reasons, actually, that Ben Shapiro has pointed out why some of the healthcare costs are expensive in America is because of over-regulation of certain things. So, like, for example, you have a lot of doctors going into, what is it? Laser LASIK surgery, like the eye thing with like
Yep.
lasers and shit, because it's newer, so it's a lot less regulated. So like there's more of like a market there, and there's less like expenditures that go into having to meet like a bunch of shit. Like the example used was like, for example, if you regulate chairs, right, that they all need to be built to this certain specification, and just layer regulation on over regulation on like the design of a chair, suddenly chairs are going to get like a lot more expensive.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then
I have a
like
random
another part of
question
it
to
is
ask.
kind of, yeah.
How many of you think that progressives are a corrupt version of what they perceive colonists to be?
Yes.
Yeah.
Think about it. They don't
It's
like the
good.
native population. They wish to usurp their culture, replace it with somebody else, and they think the native culture is barbaric.
Yeah,
Ooh.
absolutely
Yeah.
right.
I mean, everything they do is out of a guilt trip, basically.
Yeah. I don't think it's so much that. I think it's masquerading a guilt, but it's because they desperately lust for power.
Well,
Like the manifesto said, they want to go through the power process.
well,
so to
another
speak.
place where they met up with colonizers, as they call it, is they think that black people are really, really fucking stupid. Which
Yeah, they
they're
have a
not.
massively condescending view of non-whites.
Holy shit, that's true. Like they are literally like missionaries, like going to black communities. Can I read you the screed of Robin DiAngelo?
Yes.
You know, make you literate and cultured like
Look
we
at
are.
you black African
Yeah, but-
native.
But
You are
look at what you just
inferior.
said. That is what they do, because they often say, "Oh, you want to think like the black culture and diversity." Well, aside from listening to black music and black food, what else is there? You want to
stabbing each
whiteify,
other,
if I can use that
apparently.
phrase, the black people. You want to get the black people into white institutions. So you want to take away from their culture and make them part of yours. That is what you want to do.
That's not entirely true, because I mean they do like the absence of the nuclear family. And
No, that's a Black Lives Matter that does that shit. And even that is a bunch of crap, because that woman spent lavishly on her own bloody family.
Yes,
Yeah.
and don't forget the progressives are also in favour of the black cultural norm of friendly stabbings amongst teenagers.
Or
And the
anyone else for that
random
matter.
punching of Asians, I hear.
Yes, stop
You know,
Asian
that
hate.
has to be a thing, right? To some extent, though. This kind of has to be disproven to some degree by the fact that in these like kind of majority black areas with all these like crime problems, that the judges and laws against crime are like kind of harsher, and that there is more policing. That proves to some extent that in these majority black areas that the people are voting for these harsher penalties on crime.
Well, yeah,
And
because
the
black
tighter-
individuals have an incentive to do
Yeah,
so.
exactly. Like,
Well, it's no surprise that if you live in an economically crap area, you're struggling to get by paycheck from paycheck, working half a dozen jobs, trying to feed 3 kids on your own. If some motherfucker steals your TV, you want him to suffer.
Yeah, of course.
It's just basic common sense. If you have nothing and next to nothing, and someone takes something from you, of course you're going to be angry about it and want them to suffer it. It's going to mean more than it does to some 50-year-old person with $1 million multi-billionaire. If someone, I don't know, smashes a window on their 4th mansion, they're not going to care. But if you are and somehow manage to scrimp and scrape to buy a home in some impoverished area, and someone breaks your window, that's going to destroy you.
yeah, hell man. Robert Longshaw asks, wait a feckin' minute, did you guys not have knife fights all the time in school?
No,
I
funnily enough.
didn't. I didn't, but funny enough, when I was in middle school, like, there was this, so like 13, 14 years old, right? There was this girl that was kind of adjacent to my friend group, let's say, and she like pulled out a box cutter on me and like threatened me with it. and so yeah, no, she was a crazy wild one. But so I told the school security guard, I was like, hey, she's threatening me with a knife. And they took it from her and told her, oh, we'll give it back to you at the end of the day. And then it took them like half a week later until they decided, no, we should probably suspend her for this, which just kind of bothered me. They obviously gave her preferential treatment because she was a girl. Because she was a girl, she pulled a knife on me for this. She didn't get that much kind of bothered me. They obviously, like when I was like, a couple of years before at the same school, I got into a lot more trouble than that because a guy was holding me against a wall, punching me in the stomach, and I pushed him off of me. And I didn't do anything else. I just pushed him off of me. And then they, suspended me for, the same amount of time. Just completely ridiculous.
Yeah, but if you actually respond to violence with violence, you're not just no better than the guy committing violence to you, you are worse because left-stuffing logic, I guess?
Which is the exact opposite to what any rational person knows you do to bullies. If someone starts the appropriate response to violence is more violence. Which is exactly why the police always try to have what be one level of force above the person they are interacting with. If someone punches you, you tase them. If someone has a weapon, has a knife, you shoot them. It's not exactly complicated. If you're not a leftist.
But what if you're in the middle of stabbing someone then?
Well, that depends. Are you black or white?
Ah, true.
Yeah.
Because if you're black, the police have to let you finish stabbing your victim. And then they must politely ask you to walk yourself to the police station.
They can't detain you for too long, so they're going to let you go.
Well, don't forget, if they detain you and you die of a massive overdose of fentanyl, they'll go to jail for murder. Why would they risk that?
Yeah.
But it is the only way to die with COVID, not die from COVID, apparently. So.
Yep, only person who died with COVID, not of COVID in 2020.
I mean, didn't he die with Chauvin and not off Chauvin?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Who said that? I forgot. Who said that in the group?
I think it was second. It's in the highlights video.
I didn't. No. It was you who said he died with Chauvin, not of Chauvin. I was the one who made the comment about COVID, and then you chauvinized it.
The important thing is, it's in the highlights video, which everyone should check out and give us some feedback on. So there you go, guys.
Chauvin's legal defense team should call themselves the Chauvinists. That'd be fucking amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Solomon Guthrie is saying Corbyn going around telling the world about his no counter-nuke policy really didn't help Labour. No, it wouldn't, since the only thing keeping us safe from China and Russia is mutually assured destruction.
Yeah, and I mean, I think there is,
Oh, sorry. This might kind of be a hot take, but when it comes to the Nobel Peace Prize, I think we actually give one to the nukes because there's nothing that has ensured more peace in this world than a nuclear mutual assured destruction in nuclear warfare. I mean, that's the sole reason the main powers haven't gone to war yet.
Oh, well, the Nobel Peace Prize means, fucking nothing. If you didn't, BLM get it?
Well, Obama got it after the drone striking more black children than Bush. Was that true? I know he drone struck more children than Trump did.
Well, I think technically wouldn't it be brown children?
Well,
I don't think he was drone striking the Africans.
From the leftist perspective, everyone who doesn't look like a Norwegian or Scandinavian, anyone with any kind of skin tone other than white, they're all just black because leftists are that racist.
No, that's not true. No. That isn't true, actually. No, I do agree. I do agree that black and kind of Middle Eastern brown or Arab are the same thing in the eyes of the left, right? But I disagree. on certain other subjects, like you get Asians, for example, or
Welcome,
like East Asians, and they're obviously not treated the same as black people because they are actually discriminated against in academia for being successful.
Hey guys.
Welcome.
Welcome, Liquid. It's nice to have you. So we
That's
are
nice to be
just going through the second story. Well, we've gotten very sidetracked from the second story from the Lotus Eaters, and we are currently talking about how the left are racist, I believe.
Oh yes, they are. I think they project all their problems onto everybody. So they're actually probably the most racist of all of them, except for maybe the let's say the objective ones, that are like say Richard Spencer, for example. But I would almost say Richard Spencer is a leftist in many ways.
CNN contributor, you mean?
Yes, CNN contributor Richard Spencer.
By the way, Liquid, I just need to ask. Previously, we were talking about the whole blackface thing. That is, of course, bad. And if I do it, I deserve to burn in every single circle of hell. But I was starting to think, what if I use Coco instead, and I get practice from your prime minister? Do you think that'll be acceptable?
I use a good example of blackface in proper use, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's the only one who's done it without getting lynched. So I just want to know his secret.
I think his secret is being a leftist.
No. I mean, didn't that one guy join a Discord and get fined because he started saying the N-word? And then he's like, I thought
he'd bought himself there.
Who is this?
I don't remember, but I read it on a news feed that, of course, this guy was dressed like a freaking trap, badly, by the way. And he had been thrown out from a Discord call. He had been paying like a high-tier Patreon because he kept saying the N-word over and over, and he was thrown out of it. And he just had he answered the commentary. I thought I was allowed to say it because I'd paid enough.
He got the N-word pass, he thought.
Yeah, pretty much.
Wait, Trim, you would know what dressing up as a trap effectively would look like, right? I'm sure it's come up enough in the artists that you follow.
Yes, an effective trap looks like a woman.
Yeah, essentially.
Not a man.
The perfect trap is essentially so well disguised that you wouldn't know it until the underwear came off. And those are scary. Sorry for being on the straight street, but those things kind of scare this man.
How effective do you think I was as a trap with my Caitlyn Jenner attire for that one video comment?
You were really convincing. Oh, I couldn't even see the difference. Maybe a little bit of the beard stubble, but other than that, nailed it.
Oh man. Yeah, I had to do that one. Fake boobs.
Oh, there you go, Trim. Billy Blog says, why not just slap on the fake tan and get a job at the BBC? Talcum X didn't even bother with the fake tan. There you go.
Thank you, Billy. I'll give it a shot.
I'm assuming by Talcum X he means Sean King.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, the guy who looks whiter than I do.
The guy who's so desperate to be black that he's like, well, my mom was a whore.
Wow.
Oof.
I mean, again, it really just proves how the left is really just kind of racist because, we have to go to the lowest dredges of society and then we'll find them. How about just treating them like people?
Well, also I remember actually in the first Sargon video I ever saw was called "The Young Turks Are Falling Apart," and the last thing was like them announcing that they were going to be working with Sean King, and so they showed this picture of Sean King on the screen, And Soren was like, wait a minute, and it was identical to another picture of Sean King, except for the fact that his face had been digitally darkened in that picture. So, like, the Young Turks digitally darkened Sean King's skin in a picture.
That's brutal.
Oh,
They do that. Like, they also lighten other people. Like, if they're a criminal, they'll, like, lighten their skin.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Oh,
Oh
man.
boy. I mean, isn't Sean King one of the founders of Black Lives Matter? I mean, the guy is so white he could pass for a Norwegian. And he's like one of the founders of BLM.
I don't think he's a founder. I think there's like these two white women that founded it.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The trained Marxists. Yes.
No,
I mean,
wait,
they're really
aren't the
well
trained,
Marxists. They get a lot of money.
Aren't the self-professed trained Marxists black? I'm pretty sure they're black.
One of them was, but half of them were white as sin.
I do know that they celebrate this one like black lady who like shot a bunch of cops and is now like a refugee in another country hiding from the law.
Cuba.
She's like she's on like the FBI's most wanted terrorist.
Yeah, that's right. Sargon did a video on her and how her organization are indoctrinating young girls and teaching them to be terrorists.
Oh,
Yeah.
progressive.
How vibrant!
There we go. Waiting for that one.
That's diversity and inclusion.
It's beautiful, isn't it? All cultures are equal, except some are more equal than others.
Well, I love when Jordan Peterson's like, okay, there is an unholy trinity that you need to watch out for. There's diversity, inclusion, and equity. Appropriately, the acronym spells DIE.
I mean, not even Alex Jones can make that sound better.
Well, it's one of those things where the narrative and the objective world meet and touch. And what do you do with that? It's synchronicity in a Jungian sense.
Oh, boy. Hey, Jordan Peterson, what is your opinion of keto?
I actually think Jordan Peterson isn't Jordan Peterson basically on a keto diet?
Yeah, he basically is. I don't think it's specifically keto, but
Meat only.
yeah.
I mean, he's not a keto. He does like keto, but he's not like a keto fascist or anything. He has like a specific autoimmune disorder or something where he has to avoid certain kinds of foods for the sake of his health, and he kind of stresses, just because my diet like works for me doesn't mean that I am like recommending it as a physician to anyone else. So he's not the same as Pearl in that regard.
Kind of like that oil guy situation.
Well, no, that oil guy came around to keto. Shari, he told you to learn to code. Remember?
Yeah, I need to thank him for that, But again, when you can't be expected to be completely there when you had a pipe shoved up your D, now can you?
Oh no! Don't talk about that. That brings up like flashbacks from when I woke up in the hospital with a cat.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry to you, at least.
Yeah, that was awful. It hurt so much. It was the most painful thing I've ever felt, and I was heavily drugged up on fentanyl at the time.
Yeah, there we go. Robert Longshore has clarified it for us. Jordan's not on keto. Keto requires a high percentage of fat. He's on a carnivore diet. So there we go.
Yeah. As someone who got run over by a car and woke up in the hospital, like, heavily drugged up on fentanyl, I can say that fentanyl is some good shit. Just don't do it recreationally. But if you get run over by a car and wake up in the hospital, you're going to be happy they put you on fentanyl.
Pretty sure, yes. Watch out for your friends driving is all I'm saying. What?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I have to leave at some point within the next 30 minutes because today is the day of my college graduation. So,
Hi, I hope you enjoyed this segment from the Sultans of Shadilay podcast.
If you like this segment, please click like, comment, and subscribe. Also, check out the full podcast in the description below.